G'day everyone and welcome back to the Cyber Minutes podcast. My name's Max and today I'm joined by Flynn as always. We've got a cool topic to go through today. It is kind of specifically on tickets and buying tickets for events coming up and how that links to the increase of fraud going on at the moment. So we've got a specific case that we got recommended to. Flynn, do you want to go over that?
Yeah. So I've been seeing a lot of information about the Premier League in England.
Yep.
So it's basically soccer or football, depending on where you are in the world. To a lot of people. Basically, I just thought it was a bit of a funny article. Well, funny but not funny, because Liverpool fans are the most scammed team in England, which I think is funny because I don't like Liverpool.
Right.
I don't know if any of our audience are Liverpool fans. So I think it was Liverpool and then it was Arsenal. But basically, I saw this and I was like, haha, that's funny. And then I was just like, well, it was actually a fair bit because I think it was actually quite substantial. I think for everyone that was scammed, they lost a decent amount on average.
Well, like those Premier League tickets are super expensive. They're like, especially for good seats, they're like thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so Liverpool supporters alone lost about $22,000 in, I assume that's euros. So there was a fair bit of 22,000 times however many teams there are. I can't remember. So it's actually a decent amount, and then it's probably pretty safe to assume it's a couple different big players doing this similar scams or whatever because they know it works and they probably know the best method to do so. But Max and I were talking about this beforehand, and we also wanted to just kind of talk about general safety with not just sporting events, also concerts and stuff as well. There's a lot of big artists touring at the moment.
Yep.
And how to sort of stay safe when buying tickets. So, Max, what would be your first recommendation how to do that?
Well, my first recommendation is don't buy from unauthorized sellers. That's just usually your number one tip is buy it from the venue and, hope that there are tickets available, because if you're ever going secondhand, there's going to be an increased risk. And there are some things you can do to bring down that risk, but, your risk is going to be at the lowest when going through the ticket providers, which are normal, like Ticketek or, those kind of guys. And, we thought that with big concerts coming up, so Travis Scott has got a concert coming up. There's an NRL Grand Final that's coming up as well. People will be getting tickets for that pretty soon. And the T20 is starting up soon in the cricket. And there's a lot of concerts happening soon. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that. Now, if you do decide to go through a second-hand vendor, so this would be someone who isn't an authorized provider, my first tip of the day is to make sure you know the person that it's coming from. Like, if you go through your friends and your mutual friends, finding someone who you actually know in person to buy tickets from or have a mutual connection with, they're going to be your best bet, because versus going on Facebook Marketplace and trying to find someone random. At least in the worst case, if it's someone that you know or someone that you know someone who knows, then you're going to be able to track down that person easily.
Yep. Also, if you are going to do it through a, sort of third party, typically look at the payment method. It's similar sort of advice for like phishing scams in general, right? Looking at URLs and website links if they're going to be there, and being cautious of it. If they're trying to rush you, big red flag.
Yep.
Check. A good way is checking for the actual information, see if it's actually right. Not that, if the scam has done their research and has got all the event information right, but the tickets itself should have, the stadium name, the amount of seats available, where the seats are. It should all be accurate to actually what the event is like. And if you do your research, you should be able to figure that out pretty easily.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, that's one of the big ones as well. And tip number 3 is also to look at what the previous tickets look like for the same event. Look at what similar tickets look like from the same event stadium and same event provider. And if you can, it probably will be hard to find online. Look at what a ticket, like a legitimate ticket, looks like. If you know someone who got tickets, or if you see one online, compare that to the one that you're being shown in this and from wherever you're buying it from. So comparing those two as close as they can, Obviously, they're not going to leave like the QR code on it when you do it online because you're just going to scan it for them. But yeah, finding real examples to compare and making sure that the spelling is the same. There's no spelling mistakes. There's no other little things that give it away.
Yeah, definitely. And the rate of, specifically sporting and concert events and events like that, scams rising is probably going to increase a lot in the future, not just because of, the big concerts coming out, also the Ticketek and Ticketmaster data breaches, right?
Yeah.
So that information is probably going to be a lot more, but, you might not see specific ones online, but you might have more targeted tickets like from very similar looking to Ticketmaster's domain. And so be careful of those ones. I'd say as well, if you're getting offers for tickets, probably actually just go to the website itself. If it's a legitimate one and they've got, some sort of offer for you in the ticket itself, you should have an option to put that in the website rather than you have to click this link within the email.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I'll just add on to what Flynn said a bit earlier. You should be the one sort of reaching out more or less. Like if someone's trying to create urgency within you to buy the tickets, then more than likely they're going to try and scam you. Another thing to note is that the classic, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. Tickets that are much cheaper than the average price, they're going to be fake or they're going to be shitty or they're going to not be legitimate. It kind of sucks to say this and sucks to hear this, but if you're going for secondhand tickets, look at the average that they all cost and pick one of the ones that are in the average price in your, in your mutual connections. You don't want to go for one that's super cheap because it's probably going to be fake.
Yeah, so for the next topic, Max, you kind of said they were somewhat related. And I guess they kind of are in a sense because of, as we said, all these data breaches of Ticketek and Ticketmaster. And, ones that we cover on a weekly basis, it seems. And then that fraud has been increasing a lot, which isn't a surprise. But specifically, credit card fraud was a massive increase with online shopping, particularly. 36% increase I saw in 2023. I assume that's only going up with all the recent data breaches as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would recommend setting up a different form of payment online rather than directly your debit card.
Yeah.
Something that a lot of people don't realize is that debit card's actually one of the least secure methods of payment because it is directly your money.
Yep.
So the benefit of credit cards, even though, a lot of people sort of try to shy away from credit cards a lot of the time because, if you're not smart about using them, it can be pretty dangerous because of interest rates and whatnot. But the benefit of that is that it's not actually your money. So it's the bank's money. The bank does not want to lose the money. Yeah. The bank's going to try their best to try and get that money back. Whereas if you lose your money and there's, I suppose, reasonable doubt that you did something wrong, they're going to put that on you. They're going to say, oh, well, you shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have done that. And it's going to be a lot harder to get that money back. Not necessarily impossible, but they're going to make it a lot more difficult.
Yeah. And, before I go on to some suggestions for card payments and stuff, we'll just look at those stats a little bit. So in 2023, the gross amount lost was $2.2 billion of Australians' money, just to card fraud alone. So that's from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, and the ACCC is saying that Australians are becoming more and more aware of personal fraud. But, even this doesn't seem to be killing the trend at all. It's still going up, like you said, percents year on year on year. So it's it's a bit of a worrying one in general. Now, what I would recommend for making online purchases to safeguard your credit cards. So what I will say is there's two things you can do. If you're an Apple user, then use Apple Pay where you can, because Apple Pay it generates a unique token every single time you pay for something. Meaning that if you imagine the card number or the expiry date or the CVS on the back, then an aspect of that is randomized every time so that your details can't be used over and over again. So use Apple Pay where you can. That's going to be pretty secure. Then I would recommend adding your card to your bank app. If it's Westpac, CommBank, I'm sure all of the banks have it as well, Suncorp. Add your card to your app, and when it does that, it's not going to add the three numbers on the back of your card. But when you open that card, it's going to scan your face for 2FA, and then it's going to generate a dynamic CVS. So the 3 digits at the back, they're going to be dynamic, meaning they're going to change every time. If you lose your card, you don't actually lose the real 3 digits on the back. It generates a new one every time. So yeah, if you're going to be spending, money from your debit card or credit card, I would make sure to use one of those 2 strategies. Furthering on that, if you're planning on buying a ticket concert soon, try and go through the official retailers as much as you can.
Yeah, and there's alternatives to Apple Pay as well, like PayPal and all those sort of things. If you are going to use stuff like that, there are obviously other methods, like you're probably likely to get the PayPal scam emails or whatever, but use the usual due diligence for that. If you really want to be, I suppose, a bit over the top for things that necessarily you're going to use a one-time payment for something, there are actually free credit card generators online where you can put like $1 on like a fake credit card. So for these things like free trials or whatever, if you think it's a dodgy thing and you don't really want to use it for a month afterwards, you can always use a method like that as well. And those are pretty effective.
100%. Thanks for listening. Just a reminder that the Cyber Minutes podcast is for educational purposes only. The views expressed by hosts and guests are their own, not necessarily their employers. Advice discussed is general advice. We promote ethical discussions, not illegal activities. Have a cybersecurity question? Send an email to cyberminutespodcast@gmail.com, as we'd love to answer it. Stay cyber safe.